your observation sheet regarding your 5-foot clearance and talking to your neighbors so we get your street up to 8 homes or more. Now, and I will do questions today too, so I'll hold those. If I get off track, we'll be here for 3 days. So, see, we're all ready right there. So anyway, so we're trying to get through that as quickly as we can because we want that confirmation and certification before July and August to protect your insurance the very best I can. What's going to happen later this year with the insurance and the mortgage industry, none of us can control, and it's going to be bad. Okay, these LA fires have really thrown a wrench in our entire system, and we don't know what's coming. All we know is we can try to be as prepared as possible, and I'm trying to get you through that part of the program as fast as possible. So once again, I've stated at every meeting and every document I've produced, which by the way, on the table back there, any document that's a white piece of paper has been created by me for the members here. It is not Firewise USA documentation. Today I do have their brochures back there. Those are put out by Firewise. They're colorful and beautiful, much fancier than mine. You can tell them apart. So, within the Firewise, I just want to get you guys through the process as quickly as I can, so you get me back your observation sheets and we get you to 8 homes or more in your area. Currently, we have 28 streets started. We have 70 members. We're going full bore. Yes, thank you, thank you. And thank all of you. And they're pulling all the wood chips out of Bear Valley. Woohoo! Not off of private property, but at least off of open space. They've heard what I said and went, oh no. None of us stopped to think about it. It's reality. They just looked fun and they were free and they're neat, but no, they're fire hazards. So we're making big progress. Now, so your responsibility is let's get your streets filled out. On average, for somebody to be a leader for Firewise and start their neighborhood with 8 streets, it's an average of 6 to 12 months for a new leader to create their neighborhood, figure out the process, and go through the process, and then apply. So you're typically looking at about a year to get your Firewise certification. That's average across the nation for everyone who's done it. Because I've spent the last 6 months writing a proposal of how to do all of Bear Valley myself personally, I have everything ready to go and fast track. We're not going to take 9 months or a year to get through the process because I already have it all laid out. So what we're doing right now, we have 3 confirmed neighborhoods right now that are ready to rock and roll, and I think we might have one more today, maybe, that's got 8 homes on it. And then, once you get me your assessment observations, I have to correlate those together for your neighborhood, and I have to create a 3-year mitigation assessment for your overall neighborhood. That's the heavy load of being the leader. So all of the streets that I have 8 or more homes, and they've given me their observations, I'm ready. I'm going to put that assessment together, and then we're going to start the Firewise process. The 3 streets I have started right now, we're looking at having them through the process in about 3 months, okay? So normally you're looking at 9 to 12 months easily. So that's what we're doing right there. So if your street doesn't have 8 homes yet, that's the main thing I need you to do. Get me those 8 homes and we're ready to go, okay? Now, once we're through that stuff, then we're gonna be working on all the other fun stuff we're gonna be doing and just having community events and learning things and working with each other. When we have a group of hundreds of people, we're gonna be able to go help that neighbor who's not able to mitigate their own weeds, who needs somebody's assistance. We're gonna have a big group of people that can help us do that. Now, I hope everybody got to see Wendy Ward's presentation at the DPAC meeting this week on Tuesday. If you didn't see it, it's online on the CSD. Great presentation, and she laid out for us what it is to be a Firewise leader. So Wendy Ward is our Firewise Kern County coordinator. She's not a leader. She's not going to lead anybody's street for them. She's the coordinator for every single resident in all of Kern County. Her responsibility is to come and inform everybody what the Firewise program is and look for leaders who want to lead it. You only have to do 8 homes or more to be a leader. But I think there's a misconception that people think, oh, they can go to the free program with Wendy to do it. Firewise is always free. It's free to everybody all the time. I'm not charging anybody for Firewise. It's a free program. I'm charging for my Fire Safe community membership because we're doing way more, way more than Firewise, but I'm giving that to you. I have volunteered to be the leader for 28 streets instead of just volunteering to be a leader for 8 homes on my street. So that's your difference. So anyone who wants to be their own leader, what they'll get is the 2 brochures that I have back there that are colorful from Firewise. They watch the meeting that Wendy did on Tuesday, and then they go create their own neighborhood and do the whole process themselves. That's the free part of being a Firewise thing, and that's just a little portion of what we're doing. So, okay, I think we're good on that, and I don't really want to take any questions today that are off topic per se because we have a lot to cover, but I know I had a question here, so I definitely want to answer that, and if we have a couple quick questions of what I just discussed, I'll take those. Oh, and Rick's coming with a microphone for you. Am I okay on my sound? Again, I talk very loud and I talk a lot. You can always let me know.
I have sent out and contacted the people on both sides of the road. My neighbor here is the only person who has responded.
Who's responded?
So I thought I heard you say that, what is the maximum number? You don't have to be, in other words, could we be in another neighborhood since they're not interested here?
That's a really good question. So the question was, she's not finding 8 homes in her area. Now, we can spider web out. There's a lot of streets here that don't even have 8 homes on them. We call it a street, but it's an area. I'm doing over my way on Columbia Way, and I'm actually making 2 neighborhoods, and I think they span about 5 different streets. So if you're not finding people right in your immediate area, you can literally just keep spider webbing outward. And possibly I've already found people. I'm going to try to put an email together this week that shows where I have clusters of people and give you street names that I need more people for. I'm going to try to put that together. The mapping has been, it's a lot. I sit here and go, okay, this house could go here, but we have options within our mapping. Now, can your house be down by the equestrian center and your community's at the top of Jacaranda? No. But if they're in your general area, they don't have to be immediate area, but we're going to need to just kind of expand out through that. And also, I set the 6-week deadline at my first meeting, and here we are 1 month later with 70 members plus a little more and 28 streets. Yay, that's awesome. It's really good. The 6 weeks was, I want to get everybody through the Firewise aspect before insurance hits. I'm not closing the doors at 6 weeks. If your street, if we haven't found you 8 homes, we're not going to stop because the 6 weeks came. We're going to keep trying to find you those homes, just trying to get them as quick as we can to get through the Firewise part before the insurance stuff hits the fan this summer. So as I said, right now I've got 3 communities, possibly 4, that we're ready to rock and roll, and we'll be through it in the next couple months. I believe over 30 homes probably. So we just need to find your other areas. And again, I've had some people very nervous they don't have any neighbors right there, but you don't know, I might already have had a neighbor 2 streets over that you don't know about that's contacted me. And it's on my list to get you that information, but as you can see, I've been sending more emails than I think people want, so I have to try to space myself out here. All right, any other quick questions? All right, over here, microphone, thank you, Rick.
Hi, I just wanted to say 2 things. First of all, I get really nervous talking with neighbors about things like this, but the one neighbor I did talk to immediately was willing to join this. So it really made me feel good that these people understand how important this is. The second thing is, I talked with the insurance company and they said if we get on this just for 6 months, I'll save about $150. In my premium. So I think they're definitely worth doing this, and that's what you need to tell other people. Okay?
Thank you. Anybody else with a quick question? No. Okay. Then I want to introduce our Bear Valley Emergency Radio Team. They're going to come up and let you know everything you need to know. After that, anybody who wants to get a radio with them can go in the back and get signed up, and I'll present the Barricade Fire information at that time. Come on up. You get to stand at the podium with the microphone. You get to test out how close you can.
All right, I'm Dick Brown. I live in Bear Valley. Been in Bear Valley since 1999, so I've been there a couple of years. Been on the DPAC board for 4 years. I'm no longer on the DPAC. And in 1999, there was actually a Bear Valley emergency radio team formed. But as time went on, some of the hams moved away, and ham radio isn't as popular now then as it is now. So the DPAC was discussing communications and one of the other things, and that brought up kind of the Paradise Fire at that time. And ham radio has been around since the 1900s. And hams got their name from the professionals because the professionals thought they were just hams and didn't know anything. So that's how it came about. And in 1964 was the big Alaskan earthquake. And at that time, for 9 months, the only communications with Alaska was via ham radio. And also during that time at the also now in Puerto Rico and the hurricanes and the LA fires, it's all assisted with ham radio because everything else goes down. I talked to my buddy Ron that was in the Paradise Fire, and I asked him if he'd like to give us a little idea what it was like. He says, no, I would rather forget it, and I can't. He said, I looked out the front door, my trees were on fire. He said, we had no notice. He said, we had 5 minutes to get out. He says, I don't know how many mailboxes we ran over trying to get out, my wife and I in the car and the truck. He said the smoke was so thick, the flames were so heavy that they didn't think they were going to get out. He says, I'd rather not talk about it. I'd rather try to forget it. And he says, I can't. So that's what it's like to be there. Also, the hams, just one of the other things that the hams do is in the tornado watches in the Midwest. When they have these big storms and everything that goes on, the hams go out and they provide storm watch, tornado watch, and so on. And when you see these folks, most of them are ham radio operators, and it's reported back to the local communities, and it's put out on the TVs and so on. But most of those people are all hams. And here in Bear Valley, we started this a while back, but we have the hams. There's in the ham group of the ERT team, Bear Valley's emergency radio team, there's about 20 members at the present time. Not all the hams live in Bear Valley, which is a good thing. And in working this out, and it started in the DPAC board, it went all the way up to the CSD, and it was incorporated into the CSD that we are the communications backup for the fire and or the police department. And we cannot self-activate. Either the fire department has to activate us, or the chief of police or his associate will activate us. We do not distribute information other than what comes from them, and it is going to be and will be word for word. There will be no other discussions. And we have 3 repeaters located inside of almost inside of Bear Valley, which can cover communications. We can talk into Bakersfield. Under the right conditions, we can talk as far as Santa Maria. I've talked to Big Bear through one of our local repeaters, which is on top of Bear Mountain. The other repeater's on Cub Peak. there's also a repeater on Skyline. If the repeater on Bear Mountain goes down in the fire, we go to Cub Peak. If Cub Peak burns down, we go to Skyline. If that fails, we have enough communication equipment. We can talk anywhere in the world, almost anytime we want to talk. So we can relay messages, ask for help, and provide the people and the services of the fire or police with communications to anywhere in the world at almost any time. We're also we're using radios here in Bear Valley, like this one, that you can get from the ERT team. It is pre-programmed to the 3 channels that we will be using in times of an emergency. One channel, in channel 1, there will be nothing heard unless we activate it. And that will be to tell you to go to one of the other channels. That's where the activity will be taking place. We picked a frequency that is not used locally for anything, and we will activate your radio. You can put your radio in the charger, leave it in the charger, turned on. If you're going someplace, you want to take it with you, take it with you. Put it in your pocket, leave it on. If you think you need it, bring it back, put it in the charger. But if you leave it on and you lay it down, 2 or 3 days it's going to be dead, and then you're not going to hear anything. So all of the hams, of the approximately 20 hams that we have in the ERT team in Bear Valley and the associated areas, are all members of what's called TARA, Tehachapi Amateur Radio Association. And that is the local club. I think we have, John, do we have about 60 members now? 75. We have 75 members that can actually help us if we needed it. And the reason for that is TARA covers our insurance. We don't have to worry about Bear Valley having insurance, anybody else to cover us. We're self-covered under the TARA operations. Also, we have about 70 to 80 of these radios out in the field at different homes at the present time. I think we have demand for, all total, counting those in the field, somewhere around 170 radios that can be alerted at one time. So see Dave or John to sign up to get your radio. And one of the other things why we want to program your radio and you don't program your radio is we are operating on amateur radio frequencies which are licensed by the FCC. All of us have to have a license to operate on these frequencies that we're operating on. And there's different classes, but should you program your own radio, the FCC monitors, and you never know when or who or where they're going to be. The fines can be up to $10,000 a day. Not going to say you're going to get fined the first time, the second time, but that's why we want to program the radios. Is if you don't have a license, you're not going to get in trouble with the FCC. And under that, the FCC has authorized us to work with FEMA and the ARRL, which is the Amateur Radio Relay League, that represents us in Congress. And along that line, Bear Valley, Stallion Springs, and Golden Hills all have their restrictions on antennas. Bear Valley has been very gracious and let the hams put up antennas with no problems at all. But there is a bill going to Congress right now which will overrule any restrictions that the local authorities might place on antennas. Whether it passes or not, I don't know, but it will give a lot of access to the hams. So you want to sign up for it. We do have, if you were interested in getting a license, the club gives the tests. We can help you find the study forms that you need to for for the license, and we'll help you get the license. And there may be some classes. The club is talking about having classes for the ham radio itself. But we can communicate when nobody else can, when all else fails. During the Vietnam War, we didn't have the cell phones like we have today. The sailors and the boys out there in Vietnam and on the ships, we provided the communication for them. They would get on the radio on the ship or wherever they were. We'd hook up a phone patch. They could talk to their family at home. There isn't any place we can't talk to at some time or another during near every day. One of the best contacts I ever had in my life, and you never know who you're going to talk to, I was talking to King Hussein of Jordan when he was alive. So there's a lot of people out there. Last man standing, he's a ham. So do we have any questions along this? Shelley? Just come on up here with me.
Thank you. So my question is, I have a friend who has a ham radio. Can you guys program it, or does she need to get a new one from you?
Depends on what he has. We can work with him and see what he has and go from there.
And what is the cost for these radios for these people today?
$25 and they're pre-programmed. Again, see Dave and see John there for the sign up. And we've got another hand over here.
Just wanted to make it clear that you cannot transmit on this radio. I want to make sure they're going to be programmed so that you can't transmit. You can only receive on the radio. So everybody understands that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
That's why we want to program them rather than have you go online and buy it and try to program it. And then all at once, when we're trying to do communications, you're trying to talk on the radio to somebody, and that's when it all comes apart. So we've got a couple of hands back here. The lady over here.
Hi, I got an email, I filled out a form, I paid the $25. I don't know if it was from Bear Valley Springs or from you guys, and I've heard nothing. What would have that been sent from? Would that have been like CERT, or would it have been you guys, or do you know?
We're going,
'Cause it
you
came-
say you did send one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you guys would have that now, that information and that
We are
payment?
working on it. We ordered 100 radios, and we're passing those out to the first people that signed up.
So
We
that would have
have-
been sent out a little while ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we just received another 100 radios this
Okay.
last week. We're in the process of programming them, and we were going down the list
Got it.
as they were signed up. So you will get a call
Thank
or an
you.
email or something shortly.
Now, once they get their, if they do decide to get a license, now you deprogram it so that they can actually talk on it too and maybe get a position. Is that?
They can. We want them to work with the ERT team, but once they get a license, the frequencies that we're using are available for them to use, plus many, many more. There was another question someplace.
Anybody else?
Clear in the back. There's two in the back.
Hi, yeah, my dad was a big ham radio guy. He loved it. I'd like to get involved in you guys' team. What time do you guys meet? When is it? Is it like monthly, or what's the group all about?
We meet monthly. The ER team meets on the, I gotta stop and think, the third Tuesday at 6 o'clock at the Equestrian Center in Bear Valley. But that's just the emergency team. The club meets the second Thursday, at 7 o'clock at the police station in Tehachapi.
Is it Wednesday or Thursday? Wednesday or Thursday?
No, she said Thursday.
Thursday? The second Thursday,
Second Thursday
and that's at the police station?
at the police station
How
at
cool.
7 p.m. And everybody's welcome, in town, not Bear Valley, in town.
That's
At the
the one at
Tehachapi
the
Police
gate?
Station.
Oh, I'm not sure I know where that is. Not the one at the gate?
Right on Prairie.
Okay, all
Got
right,
one
second
more in the
question.
back.
Yeah, real quick. Is there any way to charge it with solar?
Oh, okay. The date for the Tehachapi
Sorry, no, no,
Radio Club is the second Tuesday
Tuesday.
at the police station in Tehachapi at 7 p.m.
Okay. And then the
Or
second,
the second Thursday, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it is the second Thursday. That's in town at the police station.
and then the last question was, is there any solar way to charge it?
Go ahead, just ask.
Is there any way to charge it solar? I mean, if we are in emergency, we're having to charge it, is there?
Can it be charged solar? For charging it for the solar?
Not
Yeah,
yet.
if you have one of those solar battery packs that have an AC plug on the front of it,
So is it just like a USB that charges or?
does
how?
not have USB.
It's
It has its own charger that comes with the radio that you need to plug into a 110 outlet.
Okay, so if we have a generator, we could plug it in. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
work.
if you
Would
have
work
one
with
of
a
the
generator.
Jackeries or one of the battery packs that are portable, it will plug into that and charge.
Okay, thank you.
Who else had one back here? Somebody? Oh, sorry.
So if I understand it correctly, today we are just signing up for the radios,
That is correct.
and then we will be contacted.
Then you'll be contacted.
Great. Thank
We're
you.
handing them out in the order that they were signed up for.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Any other questions? One other question that I've got for you folks. How many are from Bear Valley? Almost everybody here. How many of you folks read the Bear Tracks? Did you see the article in this month's Bear Tracks? Did you read the article in the Bear Tracks? This tells you all about the Bear Valley Springs Emergency Radio Team. So it's all right here. And we have Dave. Dave's here and John is here. They'll both take your information for radios if you want them. You don't pay for them now, pay for them when you pick them up. Any other questions on the ERT team? Okay, all we do is when the chief calls us, we pass communications that he's requested. When the internet goes down, when the cell phones go down, we're the last ones out there. We can still do it. Any other questions? We got one.
If we just leave a piece of paper here and just put name, phone number, and then everybody can kind of come and sign it, would that work? Or oh, you have it
These
there?
two fellas right here will come back there, and
Okay, and it's just name and phone number.
that's all I got unless somebody's got some questions on the, one more. All emergencies for Bear Valley. Anyone else?
Here in the back, got a quick question. We brought our radio with us. It's charged. We're ready to go. Do you do a test maybe once a year so that we all know it's working for us?
We'll be planning a test. The chief has some things up his sleeve at this time, and we want to work with the chief. So we don't have a date or a time as of yet, but we will test it sometime within the next 6 months. They were all tested before they were handed out. Anything else? see Dave, see John, sign up for what you need. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you. Give them a hand of applause. Thank you so much that they've come to help us today. Appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to get on to the Barricade Fire Gel. So we're going to go through these, and that's actually, I think, number 2. If we can move the slide to the one that says high fire risk. So on the slides, there we go. Oh no, that one's, that's the one that says high fire risk? If it is, I goofed it up. That's one of our members' homes, and I have another slide on there, but I guess it's not labeled properly. That one should say fire mitigated, and the other one should say high fire risk, unless I labeled them wrong. There we go. Hard to see. I'm sorry it's so small. This is one of our members' homes in Bear Valley, and it was completely engulfed with pine-like shrubbery and a tree. And I'm sorry it's small to see. Technology is not my forte, and I'm creating this best I can. Once she joined our membership and she realized the fire concern that she had there, she literally removed every single part of that. Now, I love having greenery around my house, but that 5-foot area is what's going to take your house out. That's not the right one, but we could go back. If you could go back to the one that was up there originally that said fire mitigated. So basically, okay, so there's her home after she cleared everything. That had shrubbery all around that whole deck and a big pine tree right up against the house. That wooden deck goes kind of all around her house, and she has big eaves hanging out, and her house is wood. Absolutely would have caught it on fire. Much prettier with the trees, but much safer now. Now she could put pretty gravel around there, or she could not have gravel. I did have somebody ask today saying, if they remove the wood chips, do you have to put gravel down? No, you don't have to put anything down. You're welcome to have dirt. My whole yard's dirt. We just don't want the wood chips that'll catch on fire, but the gravel's pretty, so that is an option. Okay, so that is what one of our members has accomplished just because of learning what we're doing in the last month. Way to go. One neighbor on my street removed all their wood chips and brought in 18 tons of gravel and put it all around the 5-foot area of their home. Okay, now if we could go to the one, Melissa, that says Barricade Protected Property. So the home that we're about to see, there we go. This was Jack's home, and Jack had Barricade on hand. And they had a fire coming that Jack had a 2-hour notice, he had less than 2 hours to get out. The fire was there when he was coming. I'm going to show you some images just to get you having a feel, and then I'm going to go into the product itself, and then I will take any and all questions afterwards. So this is Jack's home. You can see where he applied the barricade and where it stopped. Now if we go to the picture, the one that says loading the car, Melissa. So as Jack was spraying the barricade, this is his teenage son getting the dogs in the car. They could see the fire and the wind was blowing intensely. Next one is neighbor's house burns to the ground. That one, Melissa? So this is what they saw after they sprayed the barricade on their house and they were driving away. Do I have one on there, Melissa, that says spraying barricade? So that was their next door neighbor's house, by the way. Is it one that says spraying barricade? Let's see that one. Those were in Northern California, and I don't remember exactly where, but it is on my website for the barricade as a testimonial. Oh yeah, the one you were just at. Oh, that was a good one. We finally got the unmitigated house up close. That was our member's house with the shrubbery. So here's Jack actually spraying it on while the fire was coming so they could see the fire, the wind's blowing, and his son grabbed this picture before he loaded those dogs into the car and they got out of there. Okay, now the next slide is Cheryl's home. the slide that says Cheryl's home. And these testimonials, they're written testimonials, are on my Barricade website, so you can go read what they wrote. So Cheryl also had a fire coming. If you go back to that one, Cheryl's home was under construction. That's all raw wood. It's a 2-story home that's all raw wood. You can see the water tanks in front of the house, and you can see a ladder going up to the 2nd story, and then you can see there's a ladder on the roof of the other story so that she could get to the top roof. She did not have roofing material on your home. She had raw wood. If you have roofing material that's the composite that we have around here, you do not need to spray that with Barricade. Your roofing material is not your access point of the fire. Does roofing material burn when your home is engulfed? Yeah, absolutely. But it's not your access point. She didn't have any roofing material. She was alone, and she could see the fire coming, and the wind was blowing. So she had those ladders to get up there and spray the Barricade. Now we can go to the one that says Cheryl's home after the fire. And I don't know if it's possible to go in close to either one of those pictures because they're not high quality pictures. This is just what I have as a testimonial. The bottom picture, you can see there's no more water tanks. They're gone. Those water tanks don't even exist anymore. The top picture, the house is in the background and it shows everything in front of it is completely burnt. So even though her house was raw wood, all of her neighbors' homes were engulfed. She was able to spray it and get right out of there. Let's go to LA Fire 2025. It's an image. So this is Beverly Hills a month ago, and this is a Barricade customer who had Barricade on hand before finding me, and he actually called me while he was spraying Barricade on his home while this was the scene in front of his home. This is from his driveway, and he was spraying the Barricade on the phone with me. I could hear the fireman in the background. He's going, hold on, I gotta talk to the fireman real quick, and he's talking to the fireman, he's spraying the Barricade. He was ordering more Barricade because he was blowing through what he had. Let's go to LA Fire 2025 number 2. So that was one direction on his street. This is the other direction. He took both of those from his driveway while he was spraying the Barricade. Now, I talked to him a few days after, the next day after these pictures were taken. I wanted to follow up with him to see how he was doing and what was happening with the fire. And he texted me back, and I'd seen he was a doctor. It said MD when he placed the order on my website, MD. So when I texted him, he texted me back, and he said, can't talk right now, in a 10-hour surgery on a 5-minute break. This is what his neighborhood looked like while he had to walk into a 10-hour surgery and leave his home and focus on the patient on his table. He was able to focus on that patient because his house had Barricade on it, and it's standing right now, just so you know. So, okay, I'm gonna tell you about Barricade, then we're gonna watch a real cool video about it, and it's a short video, and you'll like it. So Barricade's been around for over 20 years. It was invented by a fireman named John Bartlett in Florida. He was on a dumpster fire, and he noticed there was something in the dumpster that was not burning, and it was a baby's diaper. He then went about setting out what it would take to make the gel in a baby's diaper be able to be applied to a structure. I used Barricade on my home in 2007 when I was evacuated for the Santiago fire. Our fire burned for 11 days. It burned 27,000 acres and took out 14 of my friends' homes. Our fire happened when it was a crisis like we had last month, and before Trabuco caught on fire, Malibu was on fire and San Diego was on fire. When our fire came, we had no air support of any kind. We burned for 10 days and 25,000 acres with no air support. They put the fire out when we got the air support, but we already lost 14 homes by then. I stayed in my home. We were evacuated for 11 days. I stayed in my home for the first 5 days because I had Barricade. When I saw the fire on the ridge, I applied the Barricade and I left. We were out for 5 more days while the Barricade was on my home. So I actually hiked back in on a daily basis and re-wet it with a hose. Don't worry, I'll get there to explain that. In the 5 days that I re-wet the Barricade the entire time, it fluffed right back up like I had just applied it. You apply Barricade with a hose. You have a gallon container that I thought was in my truck and I pulled up here and it wasn't. You have a gallon container and it has a little adapter to it, pretty much like Miracle Grow. You put it on your garden hose and you spray it on your house. And we'll see a demonstration of it in the video we're about to watch, and you saw Jack spraying his. When the fire is coming, you spray the side of the house it's coming towards, you do your eaves, you do your windows. If you have a deck or stairs or trees or anything within the 5 feet, going to do all of it. If you have enough, you go out as far as that guy did. What you saw in that first picture around the perimeter of his house, he did all that in 1 hour's time, sprayed his whole house and his whole yard in 1 hour, and then got out of there. On the label, it says Barricade is good for 8 to 36 hours after you've applied it to the structure. The difference between 8 hours versus 36 is how thickly you apply the Barricade and your weather conditions. If you have 100-mile-an-hour sideways winds like LA did, and it's 100 degrees out and 2% humidity, it's not going to last as long. You can re-wet it as many times as you get a chance to. I am educating our fire department that if people in our valley have Barricade and we're evacuated, I'm educating my customers, put your empty Barricade bottles at the end of your driveway, and now the fire crew will see you've applied Barricade, and I'm educating them why they want to know that. By the way, I have had a few people call the Bear Valley Fire Department to ask their opinion of Barricade. They don't all know about it. It's been around for more than 20 years, but it's really sold on federal and international levels. They quit advertising it to homeowners years ago because it was too much work for too little return. The forestry uses it for all their airdrops. This company, they take care of the forestry and they sell internationally, so they don't advertise to homeowners, which is why I'm here to advertise to homeowners so you wouldn't know that exists. Our firemen also do not necessarily know that it exists. They've actually now been informed about it through our wildland chief, Andy Kinnison from Bakersfield. He's let them know that I'm here selling it and what it is. They cannot give you an opinion on it. If you call them and ask them what kind of fire extinguisher you should use, they can't tell you that. They can't tell you on this product either. They're educated to do their job. This product's not part of their job. But it's the same kind of product as an airdrop, and it works like an airdrop. If you have 4 or 5 homes in a row that all apply Barricade, you can literally stop the fire in its tracks exactly like an airdrop. Exactly. So if we had 10 homes on a street, we could literally stop the fire from coming into the neighborhood, completely stop it from entering the neighborhood. So once you apply it, technically it's good for the 8 to 36 hours. The raw wood home of the 2 stories that you saw that the water tanks got taken out, she had evacuated for 5 full days before the fire hit her property. And that Barricade was never re-wet once, and it held raw wood. So the label doesn't say it does that, and I can't tell you it does that, but doggone it did that for her. So, and people think, well, I don't have time to apply it. If you're at the epicenter of a fire, you're at ground zero, and you have 5 minutes to leave, you don't have time to do anything but get everything living you can out of your house and go, period. Doesn't matter what you have on hand or if you're a fireman yourself, period. But if you have an hour or 3 hours or a day or 3 days, and then you have to evacuate, and you didn't use Barricade, and your house burns down, that'd suck. That would suck. So I have Barricade on hand. We've been talking about wood chips this week. Wood chips are my biggest vulnerability at my property right now because I have neighbors on either side of me that have massive quantities of wood chips. My only possible defense of saving my home is that I know I own Barricade because I cannot protect myself from those wood chips any other way. It is U.S. Forestry approved, it is U.S. Fire Authority approved, it is FEMA approved, and it is EPA approved. So I've had some people say it was a fly-by-night product. Try to find out what it takes to get any one of those certifications. It's not a fly-by-night product. It's non-toxic, it will not kill your plants, and it will not harm the environment, and it's okay when it gets broken down into waterways. If you apply it to your house and then you come back, you're going to wash it off with a hose, a garden hose. Does it come right off easily? No, it doesn't. Thank goodness. I don't want it to come off right away easily. Does it still come off with water? Yes. If you don't get it all off, will it wash off as the years go by with rain? Yeah, it will. Will you be fire protected that entire time? Yeah, to some degree you are. Where they have my warehouse is in Northern California, and they do sample tests in the yard on wood, and they said 2-3 years later, they see it fluffing up when it rains, and they're like, and they see if they can light it on fire, and they still can't. If it dries on your home and then you haven't removed it yet, when you put it on, it looks like slime. When I applied it, we were singing Ghostbusters. It was a crisis situation, might as well have a little fun. So when it dried, it looks like sunburnt skin peeling off. That's what it looks like when it dries. You don't have to apply every single inch of your house. You want to apply your access points, which I help educate everybody what those are. Again, your windows, your eaves, your decks, your stairs, your doors, access points. Got a propane tank or a wood pile, spray it on there. You can put it on everything. You can put it on your vehicles, you can put it on your RV, you can, if you have a generator outside, this woman, the house that, with the raw wood, she had 2 generators because she was completely off grid. She had the time to tarp one generator and spray it with the Barricade, perfectly intact after the fire. She didn't get to the other generator, burnt to the ground, gone. So you can put it on everything as you're leaving. Just had another thought on it. It can go up to 5,000 degrees. Borel fire went to 2,200 degrees, and that was an exceptionally hot fire. It blocks your embers. Let's say, so yeah, you don't have to do every inch of your house. Oh, 2 things. If I had to evacuate through burning flames, I'd spray this all over my car, except for the windshield, because you're not going to see very well. It's slimy. But literally, I would spray the front grille and my tires and everything to drive through if I had to go through a fire. And I'll be right there, thank you, if you got stuck and you can't get out, you'd spray this on your house and go inside. Is that on the label? No. Can I say that's what you should do? Absolutely not. Get out and go. But if you are trapped, I sure as heck would want this on hand. I will say when I applied it in 2007, when I would hike back into our completely evacuated canyon, I let the fire crew know that I had Barricade on my home. They got right on there, Barricade on Atkinson, relocate. I became their staging center because we were in a tight canyon that would have had a fire tornado. There was 0 chance of those firefighters surviving a fire in our canyon, but it was their job to sit there and wait for it. They waited at my house because they knew they'd be okay. All right, I think that's my presentation. If I forgot anything, I'll remember it as we're doing the video. I had one question here, and we'll take this question, then we're gonna do the video, and then I'll take all the questions.
What's its shelf life?
Excellent question, thank you. The label says 3 to 5 years. That's for the shelf life, and it depends how you store it. They've had people who've had it last 10 years, so it's on the storage. It's like having paint in a can, and if you leave paint there too long, it becomes sort of solid. The way you store the Barricade is you put it in like your spare closet in your spare bedroom so that it's somewhat climate controlled. Don't put it in your garage where it's going to get hot and get cold. Keep it in the house, keep it in the dark. And then they say shake it every 6 months, just like paint. Think about paint in a can, shake it. I say shake it every 4 months, and let's see if we can get you that 10 years of shelf life. When it's no longer functioning, it coagulates into a solid mass that's not going to come out through the hose. Great question. Okay, we'll do one more question, then we're going to do the video. With a garden hose and water. And as I said, it took me a few times to get it off. It did not wash off the first time. Now, mind you, excuse me, I hiked back in and re-wet it for 5 days straight, so I'd already wet it down. But when you re-wet it, you're not trying to rinse it off. You're spritzing it. You're just misting it. And it fluffs back up just like when you see a baby's diaper that's got some urine in there. So I had already fluffed it up 5 times, and then when I came to rinse it off, it took me about 2 or 3 times to get it rinsed all the way off. But you couldn't see it anymore, and it was actually still giving me fire protection, and then it did wash off as the rains came around. Okay, so we're going to go to the video that says Barricade Gel could save your home. Hopefully you can all hear it and see it. We'll see how I did in getting it onto the thumb drive. In 2007 to 2009, you could find videos on Barricade on Good Morning America, Dateline, Discovery Channel, DIY Network, the Weather Channel, all kinds of science techie channels. There's videos like crazy for 2 whole years. Am I too loud? Tell me. But after that, they got all these big international and federal contracts, and they just quit trying to solicit to all of us because it was a lot of time and a lot of money going nowhere. So we're still seeing, hopefully we can get to the Barricade Saves Your Gel. It's a video, or Saves Your Home, it's a video. So yes, so there was tons and tons of videos on it. If you go to my website, firesafebarrier.com, which I have business cards back there, you can see on there different videos. But if you go to YouTube and you just put in Barricade Fire Gel, you'll see all the Discovery Channel. Okay, here we go. Hopefully we have volume. Let's see how that works. Oh, I hear the volume back there, but not up here. Maybe we can put a microphone to the volume. Rick, maybe you can put your microphone to the speaker there, and then we'll start the video over if we get it. If not, I'll narrate. We'll give it a minute, see if we get. So that's John Bartlett, the fireman who invented it. He's now retired. They're based out of Florida, and they have our West Coast distributors in Northern California, our West Coast warehouse, I should say. I am their distributor. I became the distributor because the Barricade Fire, it devastated me to see all that loss and to know that those people did not know this exists and that they could have had this option, and I felt it was my obligation to let people know they had this option. If we can't get volume, we'll just do it from the beginning and I'll be the volume. At the end of the video, it's very impressive because the reporter puts it on her finger and they put a 5,000-degree blowtorch on her finger. So when it was first invented, they were using it for power poles, and that was their main clientele was power companies because, 1, they start the fires, but 2, at this point, they weren't as afraid of starting the fires. They just wanted to keep the power lines up when a fire was coming. So many neighborhoods would have it on hand, and then when the fire was coming, they'd spray all the power poles so that whatever home stayed standing would still have electricity after. No luck on the volume? Let's start it from the beginning, and if it doesn't work to have Rick hold his microphone up to your speaker, then I'll narrate. Okay, well then we have to start it from the beginning.
There is no speaker on here.
And so while we're waiting to get it back to the beginning, the cost of Barricade, an average, if you had a 1,500 square foot house, you would buy what's called a home kit, which is 4 gallons, and it gives you the sprayer. You have to get the sprayer because you have to have that to attach it to your hose. It's $610 for about a 1,500 square foot house. And it's the same price if you buy it anywhere in the whole country. Doesn't matter. Here you're going to save a little bit on shipping. There's still going to be shipping. I don't have it at my house. It's in Northern California, but otherwise it's coming from Florida. Okay, so we're back to the beginning. Let's get it to, tell me when you're ready to start from the beginning so that I'm talking. So if you had 1,500 square feet, you would get your 4 gallons for about $610. If you have a whole bunch of decking around your house, or you have a lot of pine trees around your house, it's not your place, you want to cut corners, more would be better. I am one of those people who's very frugal. If I go out to eat, I can get 3 meals out of that thing. I can stretch it. Barricade's not a place I'm going to be frugal like that. I'm going to be overly generous with the Barricade. All right, let me know when we're ready to start. That's the end.
We can't get sound on it.
That's okay. If we could just get it to start over, I'll narrate. Doesn't want to start now, huh? It got cranky.
You can explain what she's doing. She's got it on her finger there.
Yeah, she's got
And
it
he's
on
got
her
a
finger.
Fire torch on her finger there.
And it's a 5,000 degree torch, and she doesn't feel a thing. Nothing at all. I know, very brave of her to do. Okay, now we'll see if it runs back around and we can get to it. When you go to my website, firesafebarrier.com, there is a video at the very bottom of my website that's quite a shocking video to watch, in my opinion. And when John Bartlett was first inventing it, he was an active firefighter in Florida, and he got called to a neighborhood wildfire, and the people were told to evacuate, and without the homeowners knowing, he sprayed their property to test his product. They had no idea he was doing it, didn't even know the product existed. When they came back home, oh, here we go. Okay, we're going through. All right, so this is just talking, it's a news channel. So that's when you're spraying the Barricade on, and that is raw wood. And you can see there's the layer of it. He just kind of wiped it off. That's your gallon jug that I didn't bring with me today. And so you spray it on, and you can see he had half of the wood it was on, and they're showing the production plant, and he's talking about how they sell it to power companies and whatnot. So now we'll come back in just a moment where he's spraying it. So they'll show it on this raw wood, and then they'll show what happens when they put the torch to it. So much more impressive when he's talking. Okay, so there's our raw wood. So he's putting water. So if you were hosing yourself down because the fire's coming, now this is a 5,000 degree torch, and you can see the side with the water is burning right up, and the Barricade side is completely untouched. And you could leave that torch on there for hours and it would remain untouched. So now that's 5,000 degrees right on her finger, and she said there's zero heat whatsoever, none. And you can put it on your hands because it's non-toxic, not going to hurt you at all. Okay, so I'm gonna finish out with the story I was just telling about, that's a video on the bottom of my website on firesafebarrier.com. So these people get evacuated, and unbeknownst to them, this is the fireman on the scene. He sprays their house, they leave. When they come back, they expect their house to be gone because all their neighbors' homes were gone. Now, these people did something that I would personally never tolerate and never ever do. But when they came and told them to evacuate, they felt they did not have the time to take their dog that was chained to a doghouse in the backyard. They left the dog chained. I didn't see they had children or anything. I think I got time to get a dog. And I'm pretty sure they had the time because after they were gone, these guys had time to barricade the whole property. So they had time to get the dog. But they chose not to. When they came back, the firemen had sprayed the dog's house and the perimeter around the house, and the dog was alive, and you can see the fire burned right up to the perimeter. They said in the interview that they expected their house to have smoke and ash damage inside because everything around them, including forest trees, burned. Zero smoke or ash damage. It seals all the little edges. We can see daylight coming in the doors underneath, seals all of that, and you have no fire, no smoke or ash damage. All of the homes that are now left standing in the Palisades and Altadena are uninhabitable currently because of all the toxic ash that is inside every single one of those homes. So all of those people have also had to relocate. They do not have any insurance coverage, so they now have to pay their mortgage and the rent wherever they're living, and they have to mitigate that ash out of their own homes themselves because that's not covered part of their fire insurance because their homes didn't burn. With the Barricade, you don't even get that ash in there. Okay, I think that's it. I'll take questions. Thank you, Rick. I should have prepped Rick. Now he's got to go faster.
Who's got it?
So will insurance take in consideration if you have this barrier at your home and you plan to, put it on if a fire comes?
So the question is, will your insurance take into consideration that you own barrier? It was my fantasy to make that happen when I became a Barricade distributor. What I have since learned is for the insurance companies to make a change on their policy, such as the ones they've recently made that say you can get mitigation discounts in Firewise USA and Safer from safer from wildfire discounts. For an insurance company to make those changes on their policy cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so they're not going to change their policy, even if I tell them about Barricade, because of that. There are insurances who use a gel product. It's not the Barricade product. Travelers and Safeco. I personally have Travelers. If we catch on fire, Travelers sends their own fire crew to my home with their own gel to spray it on it to try to keep my home from burning. This is part of your Travelers policy, and if you have Safeco, it's part of your Safeco policy as well. Most of us don't even know we have that amazing luxury on our policy, but we do. So they believe in the gel enough that they will hire a crew to come spray it on your house. I asked my agent, I said, so if you have 200 homes in Bear Valley and we've got a fire coming, you're gonna send 200 crews out here to spray them with the gel? And they said, well, we'll get to as many as we can, but ultimately that would be their goal. I said, how can you afford to do that? They said, how can we afford to let 200 homes burn? So they would. Now, if we're on fire from Golden Hills and the 202 is shut down and nobody's coming in, even though my insurance provides me that service, they're not going to get here to help me. Having it on hand in my own property, I don't need to wait for them. Also, myself personally, I have a 5-person spa, and I have a generator, and I have a pump. So even if I lost all water and power, I could still spray my house with the Barricade. Just an extra thought. Okay, any other questions? Oh, not bad. I guess I covered information well if we don't have more questions. Oh, one more, 2 more now.
Is the product that's on Amazon, the Barricade, the same product?
Yes, it is. It should say Barricade 2, and you saw on here it's a yellow bottle. It's now a white bottle these days. It's a Barricade 2, and it is on Amazon, and that is sold from the same warehouse that I sell out of, and it's the same product, and I think it's a little bit more on Amazon because they're getting you in a little extra on the shipping, but yeah, same product. And there are other fire gels out there. They were copycats from Barricade. Barricade is the only one that's been around this long, and it's also the only one that is EPA approved. The other ones do have a toxic ingredient in them that is known to cause cancer. Barricade originally had that ingredient in it, and that's why it's called Barricade 2. They had to go through the whole process of getting reapproved with the EPA by changing the ingredients to make sure it's non-toxic, including for aquatic life, so when it goes down into our aquifers, it's good. Okay, one more question back here.
Am I to assume that stucco homes are not in danger?
It's a good assumption, but not totally accurate.
Okay.
Definitely less so than a wood-sided home, but you probably still have eaves that have fascia trim on them or, what's that? Yeah. So you've got your eaves that can have fascia trim on them or wood beams coming out, and you could have your vents in those eaves as well, and you could have wooden decks and everything. So the stucco itself is not your first access point to the fire, but your eaves and your vents and your windows and doors are your access point for the fire. So you're not going to have an ember come and light your stucco necessarily versus if you had a wood shingled house, an ember can light that, but you still are not protected because of your eaves, your fascia, and the windows and doors and infrastructure that's underneath the stucco.
And then you would have the ash and smoke damage anyway.
That is correct.
Okay.
And the guy in Beverly Hills that called me when he was spraying it, his entire house was stucco, but he covered that whole thing anyway, because if it gets through a window, that's it, you're done. Breaks that window, it's in, it's all over at that point.
So I am assuming also that if you have a metal barn, you don't need to spray your barn.
It would depend on what you have inside the barn. The Barricade keeps the heat down. So not only a metal barn, the metal isn't going to want to catch on fire, but if you've got hay or anything in there, that's going to catch on fire. So when you put the Barricade on the metal, it never even will get hot. Like you could stand inside the shed and touch the metal and it won't be hot. So.
And when it lands on the hay, it's not going to hurt the hay.
Actually, they say that you could scrape the outer hay off and feed it afterwards. I don't know that I would, but they say that you can, that if you had a big old haystack, you spray that whole thing, and then they say you can feed that hay. I'd probably peel the outside off. Melissa, you keep trying to tell me something?
I'm just thinking if you put hay with your hay,
Because I have the exact same setup that you do. So my hay is on the outside, so I would put my tarp over the hay like it is anyway, and then spray the barricade on the tarp, and then your hay would be safe too. And then I have some wood eaves that, we're gonna spray on there, so I have, but it's all stucco and cement and everything else. And then my furniture on my back patio. I might throw a tarp over those and spray the barricade on that. Yeah.
Is that a question we need to hear up here? No, okay. And also, because of the LA fires, Barricade went immediately on back order, and it takes them 2 months to make a batch. They were not expecting the orders in January that they got, and they didn't have the raw materials. The batch that is about to come out in the first week of March sold out 2 weeks ago. We're currently selling out the next batch, which is going to come out the first week of May. So there won't even be any Barricade available till May. And that's nationwide. That's not me as a distributor. That's from the manufacturer. When it's just sold out from the fires, actually the guy in LA, there was 1 pallet left in all of the United States, and I managed to land half that pallet. In fact, one of our neighbors in Stallion Springs got 8 of the bottles herself. So it will not be available. The next batch that's coming out will be the first week of May, and that batch will sell out before May. Then the next batch is going to be July. It looks like the batches will all be selling out before they ever hit the market right now. So just to let everybody know. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you so much. I have business cards back there that show Fire Safe Barrier. And you can go watch more videos on your own, and you can let me know any questions. You can order online on my website. It's all secure. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. And do not forget to contribute to the church. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
The more people, and then I was just gonna move this one down here to make it easier. And then this is the Firewise stuff, and then these are Shelley's